One of the early meetings after the first few, I set up a Google Doc. And as I was explaining the Google Doc, one of the team members said, stop what you're doing. And I was kind of, taken aback. And I was, okay, listening. And they said, what you're doing right now is you're white speaking and you're white splaining. To have myself as a racialized Black woman, called being a supporter of white supremacy, it felt very bad and wrong. The faculty director for the Office of Equity, Social Justice, and Multicultural Education at De Anza was a job posting that I saw. And going through the interview process, it seemed like it was a place that was very open. So I was just thrilled, to have this opportunity to be able to share the things that I had learned over, 30 years in this field. To me, even if I disagree with someone or we have a difference of opinion, I can still work with that person. But unfortunately, my office mates and my supervising dean did not return that collegiality to me. I became persona non grata. I was not welcomed. I was undermined. I was actively excluded because I was identified as someone who was not focused on decentering whiteness. This was a term that came up constantly. One time we were talking about the Women, Gender, and Sexuality Center, and one of the coordinators had gotten a complaint that white faculty members were saying they didn't feel comfortable coming to the center. And so my team started to talk about, what are we gonna do about that? And she said, nothing. She said, we haven't made this space for white people, it's for people of color. It was clear that we were operating differently and had different approaches, and my approach wasn't allowed to coexist with the approach that was preferred by a small but vocal group of individuals. From the beginning, my tenure review process was subverted for purely ideological reasons. As I would be observed by evaluators, I would receive feedback that, didn't align with what actually took place in the workshops, and that attacked me for the approach that I was using, basically. One of my evaluators actually used profanity with me and told me how inappropriate and dangerous I was. They said, it's a danger what you're doing. 2 weeks before the committee convened to tell me whether I would advance to phase 2, which is this present year, I was told that we will be voting to not recommend you and it will be unanimous. And I said, well, how can you predict that it will be unanimous? And they said, I'm just telling you it will be because you're not doing what you were hired to do here. You're not representing the ideas that we hired you to represent. That was what was stated to me by this individual. In phase 1, Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism legal team actually intervened, and they said, hey, there's some concerns potentially here. So it was an outside eye looking in that I think reeled back the initial, the group that wanted me to be gone in the first year. You would think that after that happening, and the unanimous decision being overturned, that people would then begin to act in a more civil way, in a way that on our best behavior, now for the faculty director, position, who's complained of these things that have happened for an entire year. That's not what happened. They actually doubled down on the harassment. They doubled down on the bullying and the exclusion. And it was like I was completely marginalized from my leadership role and not able to perform any of the job duties or functions that I was hired to perform. I had to be removed quickly. I was told directly, you are undermining everything we've worked for around anti-racism here. And I even told, one person, I said, why can't we coexist? Why does it have to be, with us, or you must go and you must be eliminated and neutralized? I feel like the push out efforts that were attempted from, my first weeks in have finally succeeded. At one of my tenure review meetings, I told them, I said, I'm not going to resign. This is work that I'm committed to doing. I plan to retire from here. That was my plan, to stay there through retirement. And so I wasn't going anywhere. As difficult as it got, as rocky as it became, I accepted that as part and parcel of the work. That's what transformative work is. My last day at De Anza is June 30th. I'm quite sad about it. I feel like work was just getting started. I think, to me, the threat to our democracy of not speaking up, of not saying something, of not working with other similar-minded individuals are too great. This is like a moment that we have that we can make a positive change, not just in our local communities, but in the nation. It's a world where every person feels free to be themselves and that they're not going to be canceled or eliminated for having a viewpoint that's different or for having an approach to things that are different. There's space for everyone here, and I think that the work that's being done to elevate that importance of civil liberties for all is something that's so crucial and that I hope that we'll continue to contribute to and to advance. It's so needed in this time that we find ourselves in.